Hi guys, it's Scott here from Outlaw Garage. Looking a little bit worse for wear at the moment with the beard and the haircut, but I think everybody's probably kind of struggling at the moment with quarantine and the issues that are going on in the world today. I hope everybody's safe and looking after each other. Today we're doing something a little bit different and something that we probably wanted to do for a little while now. We wanted to go through some of our paperwork and some of the issues that we've had with the 930 over the past couple of years that we've owned it. Some of the reasons why we purchased the car and some of our experience with shipping. So we wanted to give you an overview of the ownership of a classic Porsche and particularly related to our experiences with the 930. So why the 930, considering we've already got a 911 SC G-body model Porsche in the garage? Well, really, it's about the history and the poster appeal of the car. Most of us would have had a poster or a picture of the 930 at some point in time. The iconic turbo from Porsche. Just a fantastic and dream-worthy car. We had looked at a number of other cars before we bought the 930. One of those being a 1968 left-hand drive, non-matching numbers, engine gearbox car that was actually located in Australia. Red car, looked like original paint. We were really interested in that. Prices for left-hand drive cars in Australia are really low. It looked like a great deal and something that we could hop into, drive, and then probably outlaw and modify in the future. The car had a lot of potential. We phoned up to inquire about the car and potentially buy it. It must have sold 5 minutes before we called, so we missed out on that one. The other car that we'd been looking at was a early 70s Targa. I think it was a 71 Targa, original gold paint. And as you're probably aware, the paint mixtures and paint quality back in the day weren't as good as what we have today. The gold metallic element doesn't age as well as car paint does today, and it actually cracks and has patina all the way through it. Gives it a particularly aged look. If somebody's looking for a concourse quality car, then this is probably not it. You probably have to be really careful washing it and spraying it and hosing it just in case some of that paint didn't kind of flick off over time. But it was a beautiful car. The only reason why we didn't kind of progress with the purchase of that car was we felt it was a little bit too similar to the SE that we got, being a Targa, and we wanted to experience something a little bit different. So we kind of swapped and changed for a little while, looked at different model 911s. Never really thought about buying a 912 because of our experiences with the Porsche 356s. We already kind of felt that we got a number of four-cylinder cars in the garage that we were enjoying and wanted to keep it that way. And wanted to experience something different with the 911, as the SC was the first 911 that we purchased for the garage. Wanted to kind of get something with a bit more meat on its bones and a bit more grunt within the engine. As everybody knows and everybody does, you're constantly looking on Pelican forums, Renlist, looking through marketplaces on Facebook, taking every opportunity you can to find a new car and something that really kind of tickles your fancy that you're going to put your hand in your pocket for. We looked at a number of cars, mainly that we'd found on Pelican forums. That really seemed to be the forum that was most active with car adverts at the time that we were looking for a car. So this was 2 years ago. Around this date, in fact, we purchased our 930 on the 4th of April 2018, so near enough. We've held that car for 2 years now. Pelican forums was really the hub of our search at that stage. We looked at a number of cars, didn't really find the car that we were looking for. I guess what we were looking for was that something that wasn't too pristine. We wanted to be able to drive the car, and I think you would have seen from our Instagram posts and our other previous videos that we do want to experience the car and have fun driving it. This was no way going to be a garage or a trailer queen at any point in its time. We were also being a bit particular about the colour of the car that we wanted. We wanted something a little bit different. Over the years, I've had discussions with Wayne about painting one of our Beetles gold. Had a little bit of a fascination about gold coloured cars for a little while, so that was high on the agenda for us to look at. We were on the hunt for quite some time, just for the right car for us. I wouldn't say money was burning a hole in our pockets, but one weekend, it was on a Saturday, we took to Facebook. If you put in the search bar, as we did, Gold Porsche 930, it kind of scrolls through and shows you all the posts over a period of time of what people have put up about these cars. If you scroll further through, it starts to show some of the marketplace adverts and some of the more Auto Trader, Tempest kind of adverts for some of the cars. And we were very lucky to come across an advert from a company just north of Atlanta called Gas Motor Cars that had a white gold Porsche 930 for sale. So we didn't waste any time. This is probably where the money was burning a hole in our pocket, and we were pretty excited about the car that we'd just seen. We were very lucky at the time. The time difference between Dubai and the States lined up on Saturday afternoon, so we dropped the garage a call, Gas Motor Cars, and tried to chat with the gentleman that was selling the car. We started talking with Tony, who was the salesman. He informed us about some of the history of the car, the previous owner. It had traded hands a couple of times between members of the Porsche Club of America. The owner was actually selling the car at the time so that they could fund their import duty and taxes with regard to purchasing a GT2 RS. So we were happy to help them import their GT2 RS and pick up this 930. The deal happened actually really quickly on the phone. So all credit to Tony and the garage that was selling the car. Tony explained all the details to us. He provided us the contact details for the garage that had been servicing and maintaining the Porsche over a period of time so that we could call them and have a chat with them. We agreed the purchase price over the phone straight away. He emailed me the details for the deposit to be sent through, and I must have sent the deposit through about 5 minutes after getting off the phone call. So real smooth, real quick and real easy. Obviously you don't want to be buying a car of this value, age or history without having a few checks on it. So we did contact the garage that was maintaining the car. The gentleman's name was Franz Blom. He talked us through the history of the car. It appears that the car had sat for probably a relatively extended period of time, but the owner had always done all the required works on the car that needed doing. It's just that it had not done many miles in its lifetime. So the odometer read when we first purchased the car around 35,000 kilometers. Always a little bit hard to tell with these cars if that's the original kilometers or if the speedo broke for a period of time and it's not an accurate reflection. However, based on what we wanted the car for and the price of the car and all the details of that we got for the car, we were really happy with the price, and if the odometer reading was a little bit off, it didn't really kind of matter to us. We were happy with all the details that we got, so we progressed with the sale. Now come the interesting bits of any purchase. Easy to buy the car. Now this car is in Atlanta. It needs to get over to Dubai. Obviously there's no port nearby, so it needs to be trucked from Atlanta to the nearest port and then be placed in a sea container and shipped over. So we'll go through some of those details now. So the first step in the process in shipping is obviously organising for the car to be picked up, because there's no port in the local area, and then organising the container and shipping from the States or from whatever country you're shipping. Normally the shipping components are split up into two parts. There's the country that it's leaving from, and then there's all the importing and clearance issues that you have with the country that it's being delivered to. Shipping it out of a country is the easiest part of the step. So we dealt with a company called Schumacher. They organised the pickup of the car and the container and all the details for it to leave the States. That was approximately $3,650 US. They're a pretty flat fee for hiring a sea container, and then the shipping is just based on shipping duration and time. Really, they take the car, they store it until your ship is ready for loading. They then load it into the container, secure it in the container, load it on the ship, and then it's on its merry way. Schumacher did a particularly good job with securing the car for us. Not only did they strap it down, but they put in solid plastic airbags at either side of the car and at the front of the car. So if there was any movement during shipping, then at least the car was more secure. On this shipment, we did pay for insurance, which is 1% of the car's value. I think this gives you peace of mind. When we were shipping the car over, there had been reports from off the coast of Australia that sea containers had gone overboard and had been lost because of weather. Of course, we didn't want that to happen to the 930, and without insurance, if the sea container goes overboard, so does all your money with it. So we needed to be really sensible about that, and we haven't got money to burn. So now we'll cover the costs and the fees of importing the car into Dubai. Wherever you are in the world, these fees and structures are pretty much the same, and only vary with regard to VAT and additional taxes depending on the percentage that the government and import duty may charge. So the container left Savannah in the United States, arrived here at Jebel Ali Port, which is just outside of Dubai. Clearance fees associated with that are 3,400 dirhams. There is customs duty and VAT on top of that. I won't disclose those fees at the moment, because obviously that then indicates the purchase price of the car and some of the details around that, and being a second-hand used car and some of the wheeling and dealing we did to purchase the car, we probably don't want to give away some of the prices that we paid for it. However, customs duty here was 5% of the total value, and then VAT is charged at 5%, but on 5% of the car value, and then all the fees associated with it as well. So that adds a significant value on. Obviously here it's only another 5%, and in other countries it can be significantly higher, but it is an extra fee that needs to be taken into account when importing and shipping a car. The only other fee on top of that is service charges, which is around 200 dirhams. So not a big fee there, and just the final part of the process. I will make sure that that's up in the corner there, so people can kind of understand the costs of not only when you purchase a car, but then the fees and the import duty costs that you then have to pay to bring the car in. One extra little tip here for beginners is that on a classic Porsche, the VIN normally starts with WP0. What we find is, and what we were unfortunately hit with this time, is that sometimes the paperwork comes through and it has WP capital O. And of course, then when you go for your registration, the paperwork isn't quite right, and then you have to go back to the ports to get that fixed. Obviously, going back to the ports and getting that paperwork fixed doesn't come for free. So that's an extra couple of dollars out of your pocket, which would have been better staying in your pocket. We were caught with that problem this time. So it's not only beginners that get caught with it, but we were caught with it this time as well. And to be fair, it's not a small fee that you get charged for that. So we were charged 945 dirhams, which is approximately $300 for a small mistake on paperwork. That's a particularly large fee to pay. That $300 may not seem a lot and a drop in the ocean to purchasing the Porsche and all the other shipping costs, but that money is better in your own skyrocket to either fund fuel or your next servicing, as we'll come to a little bit later. It also took a couple of extra days for us to sort that out, so that's a couple of extra days that the car sat in the garage and you're not being able to use it and you're only able to just sit and stare at it. So make sure that that's right as well. Hi, well that video turned out to be a little bit longer than we'd anticipated. I can almost hear Len in the background screaming that I should stop waffling. What we'll do is we'll split it up into two. The first part, as you've seen, would have been about the car being shipped over and how we chose the 930. The second part will go into the first and second year ownership costs of owning a classic Porsche, and particularly the 930. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe. We'll come to you with the second part of the video very shortly. See you later, guys.